Hello, my beautiful, awesome, resilient Taurus. I am here to provide you with your September 2018 general reading. And first, I pulled your Oracle card, okay? And of course, last month, what did we discuss? We discussed a lot of you related to the fact that, a lot of people's characteristics, shined out. They came out. And then you were left with no choice but to make some decisions with regards to, your external factors. And you were like, you know what? This marriage, this relationship, this situation, whatever I'm in, it's just not working. It's not bringing out the best in me. And so a lot of you actually, really pulled a brave move, and you guys walked away from what you needed to walk away from. Because a lot of these relationships only entered your life for only one reason and one reason only, which was to teach you how to be more resilient, teach you whatever it was that you needed to learn in that particular journey in your life. Now you've learned it. Now, throughout the process of learning it, for some of you, okay, who got lost in the loss of whatever friendship, whatever relationship, whatever divorce, whatever separation that you had with someone that you deemed important at one time, what it did for a lot of you is, for some of you, it actually affected your health. For some of you, it actually stressed you out to the point where it affected your health. And so what this card is saying, you see her? She's got something in her hand and she's giving. Okay? She's giving without expectation. She's just giving. So this card is advising that for those of you who need that healing, okay, what you do is go through your garage, go through your closets, go through whatever. And just as you're clearing the clutter with regards to the people in your life, the things in your life that don't belong, get rid of the clutter in your house too by giving things away to people who likely need them. When you do that, you know what happens? It creates a sense of well-being because you feel so good that you were able to make somebody feel so blessed by what you've given them. And when you do that, what happens is it comes back. And it doesn't just come back always in the form of something tangible. A lot of times it comes back in the form of something internal that you can use to help you create what it is that you want to create in your life. See, I'm going to teach you the law of attraction. I'm going to teach you what polarization is, and I'm going to teach you how to create the life that you want. But first, we have to talk about where you are. Let's talk about where you are. And a lot of people ask me, how come you don't shuffle? Well, because I'm holding a phone and I can't shuffle and hold a phone. So I've already shuffled. The cards are already prepared. So let's see what's going on with a lot of you, okay? Wow, Taurus, right? Now, at first glance, you look at this and you're like, wow. This means enslaved behavior. This means, feeling rocked to the core suddenly, making you feel ungrounded. This means that some of your money is tight. Some of you feel left out in the cold. This means the Page of Cups represents the youngest in the cup cards. With regards to love, this is the one that has to experience a lot with regards to love. He has a journey to go on. You know, he's young with regards to his understanding of love. Okay? And he has a lot of maturing to do. This card represents theft, and this card represents burdens. So remember what we talked about last month, Taurus, with regards to your brave move toward getting rid of, things that no longer served you and relationships that no longer served you, and you knew that its time was up and you went ahead and made that brave move to go ahead and make those changes in your life that you needed. Because you don't need anybody with a bunch of baggage that presents burdens to you. You don't need anybody stealing things from you, like your self-esteem and your ability to feel like you can or cannot do things. You don't need to be in relationships with people who are immature in love. You don't need to be in relationships with people who have enslaved behavior, and then you got to sit here and babysit them because they're sitting here, with all these issues and all this baggage. You don't need to be in situations where you feel trapped and where you feel ungrounded and people just spring things up on you, that really rock you to the core, and you don't need to be with people who actually, don't contribute to you in any way, shape, or form and have you feeling left out in the cold and leave you with your money tight. Now, with all 12 of these zodiac readings that I'm going to be doing for September, I'm going to be teaching manifestation. I'm going to be teaching the law of attraction and how it works and how you can go ahead and create the outcome that you want to create in your life, so that you are no longer defining yourself in lack, and you are now starting to define yourself according to the limitless being that you are. See, because what you are experiencing on the outside is what you're feeling on the inside. You're attracting it. Just like with this card, if you give, you know what happens? You attract people who give back to you. But there's another part to this. There's a little gray area that I had to do a lot of research, and I found that missing link, and I'm going to share it with you. So if you have a sun, moon, or rising in Pisces, go watch that reading. Matter of fact, watch all the readings, because we are all connected and we are all one, and I guarantee you'll resonate with every zodiac reading. But this is your particular zodiac. This is your sun sign, your moon sign, or your rising sign, and it will pertain to you in some way, shape, or form. So here's what's happening. If what's going on the inside is a reflection of what's going on outside, then let's talk about what's going on inside. A lot of you have loving other people down pat. For those of you who have a sun, moon, or rising in Virgo, watch that as well. We've already established that you guys have it down pat with regards to knowing how to love people without judgment. You know how to love people despite the crap they bring to the table. And some of you have done it so much so to the point where it actually affected your health and your overall sense of well-being. Understand that when you give to other people without expectation, what's going to happen is that people are going to start giving to you in droves. The more you give, the more the universe is going to give you. And not just tangible things. I'm talking about whatever it is that you need. The universe knows what you need, and when you give, I promise you, the universe is going to give right back. That's the law of attraction. Whatever you put out is what you're going to get back. That's very important to understand, okay? So, you know why this Page of Cups is here? Because, truth be told, Taurus, you guys are the King of Cups when it comes to actually loving other people. But then when it comes down to loving yourself, that's uncharted territories for you. Because learning how to love yourself comes with understanding that you have a part of yourself that's easily identifiable, right? It's more familiar to us. It's our physical bodies, right? That's the very one that's referred to as the ego. Okay? And then we have a second part to ourself, and that's our higher selves. Excuse me, our higher selves. And our higher selves are the subconscious part of ourselves that we have to familiarize ourselves with. We can't just be familiar with the part of ourselves that has to wake up in the morning, take our kids to school, drop them off, go to the grocery store, take our showers, do this, do that. All the needs that our bodies require. You have to understand you have a second part to yourself. You have another part to yourself that also requires that same amount of care. And for some of you, when it comes down to it, when I read the chapter on this card right here, you know what it said? Are you busy knitting a sweater for somebody else while you're shivering in the cold? Are you giving your time to other people so much so that you don't have time for yourself? So that you can actually listen to yourself and actually identify the part of yourself that you are less familiar with? The part of yourself that actually takes some time, effort, focus, and dedication toward actually being able to hear? You are capable of being able to listen to your higher self, just like I'm talking to you right now. And once you become familiar with yourself very well, and you know what your wants are, and you know what your needs are, because you've sat and you listened to yourself and you said, what do I really want in life? What do I really want? And then listen to yourself when you answer those questions. Are you wanting these little trivial things that, will make you happy, probably temporarily? Or are you, putting all your eggs in one basket, so to speak, so that it can define your happiness? Or are you actually asking questions and setting your intentions, especially with this full moon tonight on August 23rd? It's time for you guys to start setting your intentions. And one of those intentions ought to be that you are able to communicate with yourself, your soul, just like I'm communicating with you right now. Once you're able to do that, then you will know how to positively respond to the negative things going on in your life. I'm going to give you the example of the magnet. I'm going to give all 12 zodiacs the example of the magnet because it is a very good example of how creation works. You have a positive ion and a negative ion. The positive ion by itself is just that. The negative ion by itself is just that. But when you put them together, it actually creates something new and different, a magnet. That's how you create. Everything has its polar aspect, like to do or not to do. The polar aspect of love is fear. When you love something, you fear losing it. Right? So when we get to know ourselves, by listening to the subconscious part of ourselves and really listening to what it is that we want, what are your desires? Are your desires based on what we're more familiar with, which is the physical part of ourselves, that we're easily able to identify with because it's right there smack dab in our face and requires that we actually get up and go to work to make sure that we can eat and feed our children and take care of business? It's much easier to understand that part of ourself because that's the part of ourself that's like right there, smack dab in your face that you got to deal with, right? You're in this physical body. But there's another part of yourself that needs just as much care as the physical body. Just as you have to bathe your body and take care of your body, you have to take care of your soul as well. You have to cleanse your soul as well. Just like you cleared the clutter, right? With regards to the past relationship that you recently ended, you had to clear the clutter internally so that you could start to see different external factors. So what I'm saying is that due to the past breakup that you experienced, due to whatever you experienced recently, it perpetuated the feeling that you are not in control. It made you feel like something is in control of you now. The feeling of the loss is now in control. So you know what you're telling the universe when you do that? Bring me more situations that make me feel like I'm not in control. The tower is actually an emotion. It's a feeling trapped, feeling like you're not grounded, feeling rocked, suddenly. Are you allowing your external factors to control your internal feelings? Some of you are feeling, left out in the cold. Well, do you feel left out in the cold on the inside parts? This card represents stealing. Are you stealing from yourself? Are you telling yourself that you can't do this and that you can't do that and that you're incapable of this and that you're incapable of that? Are you stealing your own dreams away from yourself? Are you telling yourself that you're a burden to other people and that you're not worthy? This card is telling me that when it comes to actually getting to know your higher self, a lot of you are much better at loving others than you are at loving yourself. Remember the example that I provided with your oracle card. Are you busy knitting a sweater for somebody else as you sit there shivering while you do it? Are you giving your time and attention to everybody to the point where you don't give yourself any time or attention? Be careful and don't do that. Okay, here's how you change your life. When you know yourself, really know yourself, ask yourself, what do you want in life? Do you want peace? Do you want happiness? Do you want abundance? Of course you do. You want what we all want. We want a life of plenty. We're supposed to be living a life of plenty, not a life of lack. That's never was ever meant for things to be that way. We're supposed to be living a life of abundance. So what's happening is internally, as a result of whatever separations that a lot of you are enduring or whatever struggles that you guys are having, you have to understand what's going on inside is going to be projected outside. If you steal from yourself by telling yourself that you are not a limitless being, because you are capable of everything. It's unbelievable of how much you are capable of. But are you stealing that thought and that belief away from yourself? Because if you are, what happens is your higher self adheres to your command. And then what happens? Then the universe says, okay, Well, present me with more opportunities to be stolen from. Present me with more opportunities that, people can go ahead and take away my self-esteem and still, my ability to think properly. When you sit there and tell yourself that you're a burden, that you're not worth people's time, you know what you're telling the universe and you're telling your higher self? You're telling your higher self, yeah, send me more situations that come with burdens. This card tells me that some of you are living in the past, really and truly. You're not living in the present. You're defining yourself by what you lost. Don't define yourself by what you lost. Define yourself by how resilient you've been throughout the course of everything that you've been through in your life. Everything that you've been through in your life is a result of your choices and the choices of people around you. And that's made you who you are today. And if you really look at yourself real good, you know what you're going to find out? That you were strong as hell. And when you really actually realize that and you believe it, you know what happens? Then you're starting to tell yourself, you know what, I'm worth it. And then you know what your higher self is going to do? Your higher self is going to be receptive to what you just said, and the universe is going to be receptive to what you just said to yourself. And guess what? You'll be presented with people who know your worth because you know your worth. See, this card is telling me that when it comes to you learning how to love yourself, you still have a lot of maturing to do. Because you got loving other people down pat. But when it comes to loving yourself, some of you have a lot of growing up to do. So let's put the work in. Let's do it. Start loving yourself. Understand that you are worth it. You're a limitless being that can create whatever you want. You can live on that big house on the hill without a care in the world. I mean, just every day wake up at peace, happy, abundant. You know what that energy is like? It's contagious. And everybody around you is going to notice it, and they're just going to want to be around you all the time because you're just this healthy individual that, attracts other healthy individuals who share the same objectives. Some of you are saying, I'm going to allow myself to be controlled by the fact that I just had a breakup, a sudden breakup. And you're telling yourself, now that I don't have my partner, now I'm living a life of lack. So then what happens? You're now living in the past and you're not living in the present, which is very important to do. You have to live in the present because the only way that you're going to be able to identify who you are is by living in the present. Don't live in the past. Don't keep on dwelling on the past. The past is gone, and you learned a lot through whatever you experienced in your past. You're going to take it with you into your future so that you know what to do in similar situations that you've experienced in the past, as life is only that, an experience. Life is an experience. And sometimes you're going to experience moments of sadness. Sometimes you're going to experience moments of extreme joy. And when you understand that emotions are actually optional, then you'll be able to manage your feelings a lot better. I'll say that again. When you know that your feelings are optional, then you'll be able to manage your internal position. The way you internalize your experiences has everything to do with what you're going to attract in the future. Don't define yourself by what you have or what you don't have right now. Define yourself by knowing that you are limitless and that you are capable of everything and anything that you want to do. And I understand that a lot of the relationships that some of you Taurus were in, I'm telling you, it must have been really hairy because a lot of you related to it. Some of you guys were in some really hairy relationships, so to speak. I mean, it just came with all kinds of drama and crap. See, because loving other people and knowing how to love other people despite their shit, despite their problems, that's a gift that everybody doesn't have, but it does come with a double-edged sword. Because you can love people so much to a point where you actually start to neglect yourself. And when you neglect yourself, then what happens? The party that you're with has all this abundance that you're giving them, and then what are you doing? You're depleting yourself. And then now you have to learn how to love yourself again. So when it comes to knowing how to really love yourself, this is where you are. But when it comes to loving other people, it's like you're the king of cups. But when it comes to really knowing how to love yourself, it's a new concept. Because the easily identifiable part of ourselves is the physical part of ourselves. The part that takes a little bit more effort and time to get to know is our subconscious, our higher selves. Our higher selves are trying to communicate with us all the time. Sometimes we don't slow down and listen to what our higher selves are trying to say to us. Okay? So with the example of the magnet, right? When you get to know yourself, when you begin to integrate the physical part of yourself with your soul, so much so that you are actually able to communicate with yourself in such a way that you know how to respond positively to negative situations, what will happen is this: you will either neutralize the situation that you're in, that won't either make a difference at all, it will just keep you in the same place, right? So I'll say that again. Let's say you're dealing with something negative that somebody's bringing to the table. Let's say that you just choose any random positive response. You know what you're going to get? A random creation. But when you really know who you are, then you are meticulous with that positive response. And that meticulous positive response toward that negative thing that you're dealing with on the outside is going to create a specific creation. And that is how you're able to create the results that you want. Stop lying to yourself and telling yourself, and stealing your own self-esteem away by saying, if I'm not in a relationship, then I just must not be worthy. Because like I said, it's so ironic that a lot of you ended relationships with people that had nothing to offer you anyway. And it was so ironic that they're the ones that actually pulled the plug on the relationship, when they really played themselves, because you're the one who had everything to offer. And they're the ones who have all this journeying to do to understand a lot more than where you are right now. So for you, Taurus, I'm going to likely do another reading in about a week or so to follow up with you guys to see if this resonated with you. And I ask that if it did, that you hit like and subscribe and leave your comments. Understand that what's going on the outside is a reflection of what you're telling yourself on the inside. Ask yourself, what are you telling yourself? Because if you're telling yourself that, you know what? I can't do this and I can't do that, then your higher self is going to respond in such a way that says, okay, well, fine, I'll keep presenting you with people who will steal from you because you're stealing from yourself. And that goes for each and every one of these cards. Given that we're running out of time, I have to close out, but I'm going to close out and saying, namaste, my loves. You guys are resilient. Remember that. And you're worth every penny. Know your value and know your worth, and watch and see how your life changes and how you're able to create and manage. You'll be able to manage your internal feelings, which will then manage your external experiences. Namaste, my loves.